Let's start with a little bit of an introduction. A lot of folks in the audience are hearing you for the first time today. I got a text from my mother back in Newfoundland saying she loves how you sound. So people are hearing you for the first time a lot of around the country. You're from Calgary. You now split time between Toronto and London. You're only 23. You've been at this for a while. When did you first discover you had a knack for this, for writing pop songs?
I think I didn't know that I was good at pop music until more recently. I used to just listen to like alternative stuff, really weird, obscure things. Didn't grow up, but spent my important teen years on Chad Van Galen and stuff like that. But I think that even before that, when I was practically a baby, I loved Britney Spears, and also Backstreet Boys, and that sort of ridiculous, structured pop thing got seeped into my bones somehow. So then this little weird mix happened.
It's interesting you say that because I think there's a lot of artists now who maybe 5 or 10 years ago, Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys were kind of jokes, especially in those who were making kind of thought-provoking alternative music. But now more and more artists, yourself included, Kaisa is another example, is making music that are fully claiming Britney Spears as a major influence on what they do. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think that it's sort of inevitable. It's kind of, I think it depends on what you're rebelling against. So maybe in the 90s, we had indie rock come in because it was rebelling against this sort of hair metal thing. And people were like, no, I need to be more artistic and do whatever I want to do. And record labels had more control and stuff. So all of a sudden, then everybody sort of flocked that way and then started making really bad alternative music. And it made some people mad. And they were like, why can't we just make good music? You guys can't even write songs. You're just making boring alternative music and being like, well, at least it's not bad pop. But then it's just like not good music. So then I guess my rebellion to that was being like, why can't I make good music with integrity that's also pop so that we can all be happy?
And it could speak to your age, is that you were probably downloading music from a very early age. Like you didn't have to go to a record store as early on as other people, as later on as other people did. You were able to download music, hear any kind of music that you wanted to.
Yeah, that is true.
There were less rules around what you could and couldn't listen to.
Yeah, I mean, my rule was like, my brother's listening to it, so I guess I will too, because he's my big brother that I look up to and want to hang out with. And he's like, no, you're not cool. Go play with Barbies. So, but I think for other people, yes, they could sort of listen to anything. Everything is accessible. I discovered Radio 3, and that literally just has everything you would ever want. And you really have to work hard to find something good, but that's kind of great about it.
CBC Radio 3.
Yeah.
The fantastic CBC Radio 3. Lowell, you spent a lot of time collaborating and writing with other musicians and producers. You even wrote a song for the Backstreet Boys. Tell me about the decision to leave a group situation and release a record under your own name.
Well, I wouldn't put it in that order. I mean, I think that I always had the idea that I would release my own thing. It's just maybe I lost sight of that at one point when I was writing pop for other people. I was excited about that. I was like, I can do this. Maybe this will be my career. And then during that time, I was also sort of staying up late at night and making my own music secretly. And then I sort of actually showed all of that music to Apparatchik, the side project I was working on, and they were like, you should release an EP with us, and then you should totally do your own record, because this is great.
And you've been described as impervious to fear or vulnerability, and that's what allows you to take chances and stand out from the pack. What do you make of that?
I don't think that's true at all. I think that that's... it would just be unfair for me to say that, because that just doesn't allow other people to feel vulnerable or feel like they can be afraid sometimes. And I've been afraid many times in my life. I've gone through a lot and overcome a lot. And I'll have to deal with those things for the rest of my life. I think that I'm a brave person, and I'm really proud of that. But that doesn't really set me aside from anyone else. I think everyone's able to be brave. It's just sometimes the people around us don't allow us to, I guess, come into our own and separate from society. I mean, we've said it so many times that right now society is not in the place that it needs to be. We're at a point where if somebody is a rape victim, they're the ones that walk out ashamed of what happened instead of the actual perpetrators, and that's wrong. And it's our friends and our family that do that as well, and they don't mean to do it. It's just the media tells them to feel that way. And so you tell somebody, like, I've been through this thing, and they tend to accidentally, and I don't blame them for it, but just feel weird and feel uncomfortable because we don't talk about it enough, and they don't understand. And then they also don't understand how somebody can hurt you like that, so they try to justify it. They try to make you feel like, or they try to be like, oh, maybe you did something, maybe I don't have to be afraid, and it just creates this whole thing. I sort of just isolated myself and didn't allow anybody to treat me that way.
And rape culture, LGBTQ rights, gender politics, there's so many social issues you address specifically on this record. Why is it so important for you to write directly about these topics and release them?
I think that, well, first of all, it's just something that affects me. It's something that I can relate to in my life, and everybody sings, or most people, I think, make art based on their own feelings. So I wrote the record during a time that I was trying to overcome something, and I could have held off and maybe done something in a year that would have been more cheery and less intense, but I think it was really important that I documented that snapshot of how I was feeling at the time, that confusion, because I know that people are going to listen to it, and people that have been through similar things are going to listen to it, and I want them to feel like it's okay for them to feel those things, and that they're not alone. Because maybe at the time when I was going through those things, I felt alone, which is why I had to write the music in the first place.
And people have come to you. People have spoken to you on Twitter and at your concerts and given you a lot of praise. And many see you in the press as a breath of fresh air, as the example of a modern feminist. Are you comfortable with that designation?
Yeah, I am. I'm really comfortable with that. I think it's really complex, and it comes with a lot of responsibility, and I take that really seriously. I try to always be as honest as I can, because if I try to hide anything, then I think maybe I'm no better than somebody that isn't sort of level-headed and thinking right, because I'm just encouraging other people to feel like they have to hide. And I think it does make me really happy when people approach me. I've had people send me messages, especially young girls, saying that they've been through things that were similar. Maybe not exactly the same thing, but
what does that mean for you? Is it difficult to hear those stories?
No, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. And a lot of times when I say things like, I was an ex-stripper, or I am an ex-stripper, you could probably say that. I think the first time I said that, I was like, oh, why did I say that? That was so stupid. It's going to be in everything. People are going to sensationalize this so much.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing is that I really get no backlash. Or maybe I just don't know it, but I get none. And I think it's because it's so honest and vulnerable in its own way that even though it's maybe not something that everyone can relate to, they can still relate to that sort of feeling. And so I guess I can't really remember what the question was, but...
Well, I do want to get to the point, though, before we go, and we only have about a minute left, is that it seems as though with the kind of topics that even Lord and Taylor Swift are writing, we're at a point where pop music is taking itself very seriously, writing about very, very serious things. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. I think that both of those artists are great, and the fact that they obviously feel really empowered is super exciting, and it is mainstream to be self-reflective and to feel empowered, and that is super special.
Thank you so much for coming in.